Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Nothing But Life by Brent Van Staalduinen. Narrated by Charlie Thurston. How quiet the bells of heaven must be, cold with stars who cannot rhyme their brilliance to our weapons. What rouses our lives each moment? Nothing but life dares dying. Rachel Eliza Griffiths, 26. Part 1. Here. Graduation. I plead guilty, of course. It's the only option. No one else used a box cutter on Patrick Schultz 10 days ago, in math class, during the last regular period before our end-of-year exams. Now, I'm not that great at math, but these numbers are easy. 8 stitches, 27 witnesses, 7 days before summer freedom. 1,000 times I've told myself how dumb it was to lose my cool. The youth court judge, a stern-looking woman no one in their right mind would mess with, asks me if I understand the consequences of pleading guilty. I nod, but she makes me say it out loud. I understand, Your Honor. Then she clears the courtroom of everyone but me, Mom, the lawyers, the court reporter, my youth worker, and the bailiff, who sits in the chair at the end of my table. Even Grandma Jan and Aunt Viv have to go. The prosecution lawyer starts to object. He thinks Patrick and his parents should be allowed to stay. But the judge silences him with a look over her reading glasses. I'll bring them back for sentencing, but there's something I need to talk to Wendell and his mother about first. First time she's called me Wendell. Until now, I've been the defendant. I think about what that could mean as I watch everyone file out of the courtroom. Patrick, who everyone calls Pat, which he hates, glares at me as he leaves. A single person remains in the gallery, a woman who's been scribbling madly in her notebook the entire time. You too, Ms. Walters, the judge says. Judge, Especially you. The woman frowns but gets up without another word and leaves. The judge sighs and nods at the bailiff. Watch the door, please. I don't want anyone accidentally bursting back in. I can tell the judge is talking about Walters, a reporter from the local paper, which my mom calls that right-wing rag who lives in my neighborhood. The bailiff gives a small smile and heads to the door. He shares the judge's opinion. The judge removes her reading glasses, looks down, and takes a long, deep breath. Her eyes are softer when she looks up and over at the table where I'm sitting. I've seen that kind of look before. It's how people who weren't there look when they talk about it. All helplessness and sadness. She's going to talk about Windsor. My lawyer brought it up in my defense, but I was hoping it would stay locked up in the court records. But no. Now the judge will say my full name again and want me to talk about it. But I won't. I won't tell anyone. Not in a way they want, anyway. I have memories that live inside my head that are just for me. I was in the Windsor High library when the shooter walked in and opened fire. I didn't see much while it was happening. I was behind a table with my eyes closed. I heard the angry sounds of the bullets destroying everything around me. And the other noises I can't talk about. We all did. The shooter was my stepdad, Jesse. I found that out later, at home, at the same time my mom did. When the police came to interview her, and me, I also found out that Jesse went to my classroom first. I don't know why. He didn't leave a note or anything. After the shooting, in the strange quiet of our house, I tried to figure it out. Mom hid the TV remote, but there were dozens of reconstructions on the internet. Hashtags and protests and rage, and so many people wanting to fight. So much information, but so few answers. Computer-generated animations and diagrams and arrows and dotted lines and red X's wherever someone had died. Kids and teachers. The horrible math of it. But I can't say that number. I hope that's all right. The judge coughs gently. A few things have come to light since you were charged, she says, including the fact that you were at Windsor High School on the day of the shooting. When I call everyone back in, I'm going to pass sentence. But I wanted to tell you in private how sorry I am for what you've gone through, and how much I respect your mother for bringing you home to Hamilton for a fresh start. I've spoken to your math teacher and principal, who both speak very highly of you, and we talked about your situation. They, of course, had no idea. I sneak a look back at Mom. She's leaning forward on the gallery bench, her arms folded, looking at the judge with narrowed eyes. My lawyer using Windsor is one thing, but Mom won't like that the principal and my teacher know too. She made me promise not to say anything to anyone. Not that I would. Not that I can. I turn back to the front of the courtroom. The judge is still talking. You'll be relieved to hear that your expulsion has been reversed, and you'll be allowed to graduate from grade 10 after all. Quietly, of course. They feel that this one mistake shouldn't keep you from moving forward. I agree. Your school records will be filed away with full confidentiality, which is important to you and your mother. By law, these court records will also be sealed. Wendell, I sincerely hope you and your mother can find some peace here. You're a strong young man, and I'm lucky to have met you, despite the circumstances. She leans back and puts her glasses back on. That said, you broke the law, so what happens next is very, very important. And with that, the judge nods at the bailiff, and he opens the door and everyone comes back in. I force my eyes to stay open to keep them dry. I never cry, but I get close a lot. My eyes fill all the time. I can't look back at Mom right now because she'll be a mess, like me. I can't hear the word Windsor without my insides twisting themselves into ropes. But she feels it worse. She feels everything. Big Brother's Best. My probation officer's name is Sean, and he meets me at our house the next morning. He's dressed in khakis and a black golf shirt. He has a thick leather belt with a phone pouch and a gold badge on one side, and a handcuff holster on the other. There's a thin, cylindrical pouch next to the cuffs. Flashlight, maybe. Pepper spray? Or a collapsible baton, for the ones who don't cooperate. He opens a map of our neighborhood on the kitchen table. The boundaries of Churchill Park and Coots Paradise have been outlined in pink highlighter. We live in an old neighborhood with the city pressing in on one side, and the park and marsh on the other, interrupting Hamilton's urban sprawl. The city, an old steel town tucked alongside the bay at the end of Lake Ontario, keeps growing. Our neighborhood has seen better days. The houses are small and worn. War homes, Grandma Jan calls them. Lots of senior citizens. Lots of families looking to invest as soon as the older folks die off. Sean repeats the judge's instructions. At-home supervision. Weekly meetings with Sean. 240 hours of community service. Picking up garbage from the park and marsh trails from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., Monday to Friday, every week until the first day of grade 11. Then every day after school until the hours run out. Alone? My mother asks. For the most part, yes, Sean says. I'll drop by when I can. But Wendell... Dills, I say. Call me Dills. I used to prefer Dilly, but at some point Mom started calling me Dills, and I've come around to liking it. A growing up thing, I suppose. I'm fine with it. I guess someday I'll even think of myself as a Wendell. He shakes his head. Sorry, mate, but no. Let's keep this professional, yeah? Sean's about my mom's age, but British, so everything he says sounds like it's being stretched out. My name, for instance. Wendo, he says. And he drops, yeah, in between so many of his sentences. Anyhow, I've made an arrangement with Gary, the park manager, for daily check-in. Here. Sean points to a building on the park's eastern side. He says he'll be there at 9 every morning. That's the old field house, Mom says. I always thought it was abandoned. Sean shrugs, slides the map over to me, and talks about boundaries and limits. Grassy parkland is my priority, but I'll clean the trails too. The marked, official ones. The little scale marker at the top of the map tells me the area is huge, bigger than I imagined. I looked it up online, but seeing it spread out on paper is different. I start to feel the weight of the summer ahead of me. Sean puts a plastic shopping bag on the table. Out of it comes a blaze orange safety vest, blue construction helmet, work gloves, a box of industrial garbage bags, bug spray, a huge blue bottle of sunscreen, SPF 45. My mom's eyebrows rise at that one. I threw that in there, he says. I've done outdoor work before, and the sun'll burn you quicker than you think. That's thoughtful of you, Mom says. Sean waves away her words, embarrassed. But stay on this side of the marsh, yeah? South side only. Okay, I say. Which brings me to the last thing. He digs down to the bottom of the bag and takes out a length of nylon strapping with a black box attached. Unmarked. You've got to be kidding, Mom says. What is it? I ask. It's a Mom closes her mouth and stops the word before it comes out. Not a word I hear from her very often. It's a low jack. Sean gives her a look. Let's call it an ankle monitor, yeah? Big brother's best. No need to be dramatic. He looks at me. It's a GPS tracker, Wendell, to make sure you stay where the court says you need to stay. I can't believe this, Mom says. It's standard for house arrest. Sean hands it to me. It's not heavy. It's not light either. I have to wear it all summer? He nods. It also makes my job easier if I need to find you while you're working. What about showering? Exercising? Mom asks. Water and sweat-proof. Just keep the strap clean. They can get pretty ripe. He takes the monitor back from me, kneels, and looks up at me. I have to put it on you now. Which ankle? I hear myself telling him to put it on the right side. He talks about tampering and alarms and how violating the court's conditions puts me in a whole different category of youth offender. I've seen ankle monitors in movies, of course, so I get it. But it takes a special wicked-looking tool to lock it tight and activate it. And the electronic tone as it connects to the satellite sounds sinister. Those scare the crap out of me. The sights and sounds of a screwed-up summer, stretching out ahead of me a long, long way. Listen. The park manager is a little guy, not much taller than me. He has a mess of twisted scars all up his left arm, and bursting up the left side of his neck onto his face. His ear is a ruin. You can see it when he isn't trying to hear anything. When he is, he turns his head to catch the sound with his good ear, and the messed up one disappears. He smells a lot like skunk. The office does too. This is Gary, Sean says. Go, the guy says. Not Gary. Sean grunts, takes some folded papers out of his shirt pocket, and squints through all the small lines of text. Frowns. Thought it was Gary. No apology, though, even through the long silence that follows. My mom would be pissed about that. Make it right now, she'd say if she were here. I wonder if Sean's having difficulty with the weed smell. a pot smoker in charge, and if Gal is sensing Sean's issue with his habits. Both of them tense, me dangling in the middle of all that awkwardness. Nothing to do until Gal speaks.
So you have instructions for me?
Sean grunts again and goes through his spiel, most of which I've heard before. This time he adds geo-fencing to the vocabulary, which I want to ask about but can't because the two guys are moving through the rest of the formalities. They both have accents. Sean's British and flat. Gal's something else, stiff and kind of nasal, with strange vowels, rolled R's, and crumbly consonants, like old cement. Finally, Sean turns to me.
So that's it then. Stay busy, yeah?
Sure. Sean walks out of the field house, leaving Gal and me to stand there for a few awkward moments. Gal gives me a quick once-over, head to toe, and waves me out.
You are on your own, young man.
Will I see you while
I will not be checking up on you.
Gal turns back to the tiny desk tucked against the wall and picks up his pen. The ratty office chair creaks a protest. Silence again. I feel forgotten already. Just me and my silly safety vest and a million acres of decaying trash. Is it gone? He turns his head, right ear exposed.
I am sorry.
The hearing, and the ear with the scars.
Yes.
How does a deaf dude get a job managing a park? It's a rude question. That little voice inside is telling me so as I say it, but I'm annoyed enough at the situation to ignore it. Gal scowls, saying something about $1 million question. Then he tells me to fuck off and go pick up my garbage. No, really, he says that to me. Like I'm somebody his own age and not a teenager he should watch his mouth around.
Fuck off, and go pick up your rubbish.
Baby. I used to swear. A lot. Sharpening my teeth as soon as I left the house, savoring the taste of the perfect F-bomb, blending in with the other guys. Mom didn't like it. She said it was going to get me in trouble. But after Windsor, those foul words started sounding empty, puffed up without anything inside. So I stopped. The guys at my new school are just like the guys I left behind. Now that summer's here, they must be blinding themselves with the swearing they can do. I don't miss it. Jesse thinks swearing is a weakness.
It means you've run out of words. A poor substitute for substance.
He says, or he would say. I wonder if he still thinks about things. I feel like swearing now, I say to the trees at the edge of the soccer field. Specifically, I want to swear at the heat and the bugs and the disgusting stuff that can still come out of long-forgotten garbage when I impale it on my spike. But I won't. I'll tough it out and head home at lunch. Whenever that is. I've caught myself reaching for my iPod a few times to check the time, but I'm not allowed to have it with me. Part of my sentence. And I don't own a phone. Mom says I can decide later this year when I turn 16 whether I want one or not, but I'll have to get a job to pay for the data. A year ago, I'd have said, of course I'll want one. I'm a teenager after all. But now I'm not sure. Of course, I can do pretty much anything on my iPod I can do on a phone. But between nudie apps and sexting and cyberbullying and the trolls who look to make life miserable for anyone who's experienced tragedy, there's so much wrongness online. You think a lot about safe places after a thing like Windsor. I've followed a well-worn path into the bush to try to cool down a bit. I didn't know a guy could sweat like this. Ever. I've played sports and felt the little beads running down my face, but this is different. I'm soaked through, even my undies. I'm getting a rubbed raw patch between my legs. I should drink more, but the little plastic water bottle has been empty for a couple of hours now. I'll have to get Mom to buy me a bigger one. I've only peed once, running into the bush to go behind a tree. It was dark yellow and thick like syrup. Hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Water is the most important thing, troop. Jesse's words again. Yes, out loud. I do that a lot more these days, ever since the shooting. That's how I got on Patrick's radar. At lunch one day, he came around a corner to find me alone, having one of my conversations with Jesse. He told everyone else I was talking to myself like a baby. But I don't talk to myself. I talk to Jesse. I say his words too sometimes. He used to be home all the time, so I could talk to him whenever I needed to. Morning, lunchtime, after school. I feel faint. This is not good. Plus, there's a suspicious burning on the back of my neck. Sunburn. Or more chafing from the cheap rough collar on my safety vest. Both, maybe. I should head home now, I think, as I spear another faded, collapsed can and put it into my bag. Would Sean know that I left? The stupid box on my ankle broadcasting where I am? My deviation from my work locations? Would he care? Whatever, I'm going. I stash the stick in the garbage bag and walk out of the woods. Home is right across the field. Sean and the courts would go easy if they knew I was dying out here, right? Oh, man. Something claws its way up from behind my rib cage, and I have to stop mid-step and take a few deep breaths to push it down. I can't think about the word dying anymore, even when I'm obviously exaggerating. Aw, is baby crying now? Patrick, sitting on one of the park benches pushed up against the edge of the field. I blink away the blurriness. He's wearing shorts and a sleeveless green and yellow jersey, the scar I gave him on his bicep pink and angry. He flinched when I lashed out at him, just in time to keep me from cutting his face. We were doing one of those combined lessons that are supposed to teach us how science and math and life are all connected. The teacher gave everyone a box cutter, one of those clicky yellow utility knives. There was a lot of leaf cutting and counting and dividing. Pat and I were assigned as partners, him whispering taunts, me lashing out in a moment of pure weakness. I heard you got stuck here, he says. How'd you hear that? Nice vest. What do you want? I want to beat the shit out of you, but who needs the hassle? He points at my ankle monitor. Pat, I said I was sorry. He's up and in my face before I finish the thought. And I told you never to call me that. Must have been the back of my brain throwing his nickname out there. It's almost funny. But even though he's afraid to hurt me because of my supervision, I know better than to laugh. He can't stand that Pat can be a girl's name. So much that his stupid lizard brain might make the decision for him. Mom says that there are glands and mysterious forces that make guys do things, especially the ones whose parents started them in school late so they could be more ready. Pat relishes being bigger than everyone. He actually gets 5 o'clock shadow when he forgets to shave. I hear myself apologize again. Punch me, he says. What? Anywhere you want. I won't even hit back. I'd be lying if I said that the thought of punching him has never crossed my mind, or that I'm not tempted to bury my fist in his gut to see him fall. But there's a wicked little glint in his eye, and a suspicious burn in my throat telling me not to. That's how I'd fall. I'd get busted for breaking the conditions of my sentencing. You're not allowed to get in fights, much less with the person you're doing time for hurting. Jesse would tell me to walk away. I can hear him. He just wants to bring you down. Don't drop to his level. Clear as mud? Clear as mud, I say. Patrick is confused. Huh? What are you talking about, baby? Clear as mud is one of Jesse's favorite sayings. He picked it up in the army. One of 1,000 things that sound like gibberish to non-army people. Mud's not clear, it's muddy. You say it when you know what you have to do, even when it's not entirely sensible or logical. Jesse always explains the sayings to me.
Get a jag on. On the bus, off the bus. We're all mushrooms, fed shit and kept in the dark.
Or maybe it's explained. Past tense. In reality, he can't explain anything to me any more than one of the trees can. He's still in that Windsor Regional Hospital bed. When the police finally swept the school, they found him in a bathroom. Almost dead, but not quite. He'd tried to kill himself. At first, the cops kept Jesse in restraints and stationed an officer outside the intensive care room. They hoped he'd wake up so they could charge him and lock him away forever. But the doctors say he'll never wake up. That it's not a coma, but a persistent vegetative state. Now everyone is waiting for him to die, which is a little sad. There's been so much death already. You shouldn't be here, I say. Be a man and hit me. I shake my head and walk away. I think, don't you get it, Pat? I'm not a man. I'm not supposed to be. Not yet. Why does everyone expect me to be older than I am? I hear him say dumb things to my back about how sorry I'll be, and how he'll be around every day, but I'll never know when. Even my own lizard brain knows that you only say those kinds of things when you're out of other options. S and C. Our cool, air-conditioned house is 5 minutes from the park, my massive, sweltering prison cell. Sean didn't say I can't go home during the day while I'm doing my time, but it still feels like I'm doing something wrong, even though it makes sense for me to use our own bathroom and eat lunch there. I've been torturing myself. There's a bright blue Elantra parked at the curb out front, and Mom is talking to someone on the step. It's the reporter from court, Walters. Mom isn't happy to be talking to her. Her arms are folded, and she's standing in the middle of the doorway like she's blocking it. You don't stand that way when you're friendly with the other person. You lean against the door frame or turn aside so they can come in. Walters turns and sees me coming up the walk. She smiles. Wendell, hello. I'm Kathy, a reporter from... Stop talking to him. Vicky, I just have a few questions for your son. No, you don't. And you don't get to call me Vicky. Hey, I said no. He's still a minor, so it's my call. Dills, come inside and don't say a thing. She turns slightly to allow me access, but the reporter hasn't moved. I stop. Awkward. Get out of the way, Mom says. Why did the judge ask everyone to leave the courtroom? Inside, kiddo. Now. Mom says the last word with extra weight. I know that tone. I call it, do not argue with me right now, young man. Walter steps aside and lets me past. Don't come here again, Mom says. She closes the door in her face, cutting off the next question. With a low groan, the door eases open a bit. Mom has to thunk it closed twice before it catches. Old doors and twisted frames, I suppose. But it steals some of Mom's thunder. Walters is probably out there laughing at the dramatic but missed attempt. I make for the sink and drain 4 full glasses of tap water, Mom's eyes on my back the entire time. I put the glass down. My belly is tight and round as a medicine ball. Are you all right? I need a bigger water bottle. Let me see your neck. Mom moves behind me and grabs my shoulders, tut-tuts under her breath. You got some sun, too. I'll be fine. You're already burned. Didn't Sean give you sunscreen? It was cloudy when I started this morning. She reaches up and takes down the first aid kit stashed above the cupboards and hands me a bottle of green aloe vera. It's cool on the back of my neck. Funny how the good...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?